All right, we're going to kind of move on from matchmaker to just overall an outlook here for some of these guys. Let's talk about DeAndre Ayden. Look, this is someone who could very well likely get moved. Some of these other guys, we're not sure. They may stay with their teams there. He's made it clear he thinks he's worthy of a max deal. It doesn't appear the Suns necessarily feel that way about him. What's the outlook for him?
Yeah, no, you're right. The Suns, it sounds like, as I talk to folks, and obviously the reports that are out there, that they're not bluffing. They don't view him as a max player. Detroit had been the place I thought he would go all along. I don't know that that's likely any longer, given some of the moves that they've made. A spot that hasn't been talked about as much, but I think makes sense. They have cap space, and they, I think, would value a big man like Ayden, is the Toronto Raptors. Now, I like Toronto. This is not a disparagement to Toronto or any of our colleagues or friends from Canada. It's not always been an easy place to recruit superstars. And I think this presents an opportunity if you view Ayden as a superstar. He has felt disrespected by the Phoenix Suns. And so he's more inclined to find an organization that's going to show him respect and show him respect with dollar signs and with money. The Toronto Raptors, to me, I think, are a team to keep an eye on. They've got the ability to do it. They feel like they're not that far away from being competitive in a really tough Eastern Conference. And DeAndre Ayden is, depending on your view around the NBA, either a huge opportunity that's undervalued by their team, or a classic center who wants to shoot the ball too much, who's not as good as he thinks he is and isn't worth the money. The Raptors, as I understand it, may value him on the side of him being a guy with upside. And I think they could certainly be in the mix here in the next few hours.
And the reason we sort of switch gears here, we are now going to restricted free agents and their outlooks. So that's DeAndre Ayden. What about Collin Sexton?
Yeah, Collin Sexton is a really interesting case because obviously there's been injury issues there. And you're talking about a really crowded backcourt in Cleveland. In principle, they don't need him. But Sexton has said that he wants to stick around. He wants to be there. And I think most people around the NBA, and certainly people in that locker room, think Cleveland is going to be really good in the next 2 or 3 years. They're young, they're dynamic, they're deep. They've got a really good head coach. Kobe Altman, their GM, I think does a really good job and promoted, I think, to a higher level now, higher title. I think he sticks around in Cleveland. He said he wants to be there. It sounded genuine when he talked to the local media recently. And I think that we've seen that depth in the backcourt is really important. And look at Atlanta. DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, and the old idea of thinking wouldn't both fit because they're both basically point guards. I don't think that matters. I think backcourt talent, shooting, the ability to score, those are what you want. You figure out the positions later. I like Sexton to stay in Cleveland. I think he will.
How do you like him and Darius Garland this upcoming season together?
Yeah, I don't mind it. And I understand that there's some concerns around the NBA and there's some concerns in Cleveland that maybe that they overlap a little bit. And again, they're not Dwayne Wade and they're not LeBron James, but those guys both need the ball in their hands. They figured it out. I think DeJounte Murray is a guy that averages 9-10 assists per game, and Trae Young's obviously the engine through which that offense runs in Atlanta. But Atlanta went all in on that move because you collect talent and you figure it out. I think they did a great job drafting Garland. They did a great job drafting Sexton. Sexton's injury was part of the reason Garland really got to flourish and be the guy for that team. If Sexton wants to be there despite the presence of another guy basically at his position who's going to have the ball in his hands and score, right? If it's not a chemistry locker room issue, and I don't think it is based on what he said, I think you keep that talent, you collect that talent, you figure it out.
Our last restricted free agent we're going to look at here, Marvin Bagley III. I was reading one of our articles by James Herbert on CBS. He said, look, the Pistons gave up 2 second-round picks to get him. I don't think they're prepared to watch him walk away. Do you agree with that?
I think that's exactly right. James is excellent what he does, and I think he hit the nail on the head. Obviously, Marvin Bagley III did not have the career start that he wanted. And his situation in Sacramento wasn't just underwhelming in terms of what happened to him. It was just weird in terms of the way in which that organization didn't want to move on from him and didn't want to facilitate an exit, didn't want to play him. But Detroit is a team that is building for the future. They don't expect to compete next season. And if you're going to go out and you're going to try to, in a place like Detroit, again, not as easy to recruit talent as some other cities, you got a hit in the draft, and I think they did with Cade Cunningham. You've got to win in free agency, and we'll see what they do over the course of this season, next season. You've also just got to find guys that are undervalued or didn't perform but have a ceiling. Marvin Bagley III could be. It's not a guarantee. Could be that guy. They gave up a couple picks. They're not going to give those away after they like what they saw from Bagley III. I think he sticks around. I think they commit to him, and I think they hope that what he was supposed to be all those years ago, they can reclaim even a fraction of that talent.
Bill, I'm sure somebody would hire you as a matchmaker. Maybe the next time your friend gives you his phone in the bar, you're going to know which way to swipe correctly for him and make true love happen there. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.